Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Alex Harshman here, Wholesale to Freedom. So for those who don't know, this channel is all about wholesaling real estate in general, and anything business related, motivational things as well. So follow along with me on my journey through wholesaling to achieving financial freedom. Right now I'm living the time freedom, but I would like to get to the financial freedom. So you're gonna follow along with me and see how I do it, see how I make mistakes, how I succeed, and kind of learn from it all. So today I wanted to talk about what had happened with my VA. So I have been through 3 VAs now. The first one, she just wasn't clocking in on time. She wasn't being very accountable. Her English wasn't that great, and she had a really monotone voice, so kind of like mine almost, but just a little bit deeper, and as a female. And so, I mean, not that there's anything wrong with that, I'm just saying on the phone it's not that pleasant to talk with. So she'd be on the phone and I could tell, were being turned off by her. So I had to let her go. Got another one, and she was phenomenal on the phone. Like, I'm talking phenomenal. And so actually I went through 4 VAs. The first VA I had to fire the same day as she started, 30 minutes into the shift, because she had not clocked on until 45 minutes, and she was telling me that she was going to be another hour because of her kid. So I said, don't worry about it. The second one was the one I just told you about. The third one, she was the one that was phenomenal, and she did a really good job. But the only thing that sucked was she was not accountable as well. She would clock in late. I'd have to tell her multiple times, like, hey, be sure to clock in 5 minutes early so I know you're there, so that way we can account for any missing appointments or anything like that. And she just continued to do it, and then she was having internet problems, and then I gave her chance after chance, and sure enough, came back to bite me in the butt. So, and then my fourth one, I spent an entire week training her, like hardcore, 4 hours a day, like making her as good as I am on the phone. And she was as good as I was, but on the 5th day, yesterday, Friday, she just decided she couldn't work anymore because her kid couldn't adjust to the sleep schedule that she was on, because he was so used to her being around him whenever he was sleeping at night. So she could not work graveyard shift, which I understand, because in the Philippines, they're 12 hours behind us. So whenever they're working, the peak hours, like 11 to 7, it's 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. for them. That's really late schedule, and it's a hard schedule. I've worked gray shift before, and anybody who works it knows that it sucks. So it's really hard on them, and I completely understood. I didn't want to come between her and her kid. I even told her that in the interview. I said, do you have this taken care of? And she said, yes, I do. So I said, okay, I don't want to come between you and your kid, and I would never ask that. And she understood. So I did all the preliminary questions, and it's still, sometimes you do all your due diligence, and it's a test of time, right? So only time will determine whether or not that they'll operate at a peak state, or operate at the level that you need them to. But if you listen to the barbell girl from Shark Tank, she even says, if my employees operate at 80% of what I can operate at, then I'd be happy. So I've recently only begun to allow that. I've always demanded like a lot from them, so I'm learning a lot as well as I go through these VAs. Like, it's a learning process, and it sucks, but I never told you what happened with my 4th VA. So even though she was really good and I trained her for this whole week, like I said, she couldn't work the graveyard shift, so I had to let her go. But then, I mean, this happened yesterday, so I was very upset. I wasn't upset to the point where I'm like super mad and punching a wall or anything, but it just ruins your day when you spend all this time and energy training somebody just to have them not follow through, with working with you, because at the end of the day, they're trading their time to make you money. And so whenever you don't have these employees, you now have to exchange your time to make money, or find somebody who's already trained. But to find somebody who's already trained in the specific script that I have and the way I do things, it's just not going to happen. So I have to train somebody or find somebody to train somebody. I don't want to spend the money right now, and definitely, I do have the time, so I can train them. So I was just thinking to myself, man, this really sucks. You know, this girl, she really likes working with us. It's not really anything that we did, but it's, you know, she just cannot work the night shift because of her kid. So I was thinking to myself, well, what can I do to leverage her skills that, you know, all this time I put into her? And I thought to myself, well, hey, maybe I could have her train my VA, and then I'll just do like the finishing touches. And I'll pay her like $3.50 an hour to train my VAs during the day, so that way they're getting trained while I sleep, and then when the work day comes around, I can get them ready to work. And I thought, wow, that's a really great idea. So I pitched it to her, and she was all for it. So possible solution to that problem, so that I don't have to train them, you know, or spend as much time training, and she could be my official training manager, and her and I could start a side job or something together. I don't know. Possibilities are endless, but I mean, she was probably the best that I've had so far on the phone, and just confidence, tone, English, everything. It's just the situation wasn't the thing that worked out for her, which really sucks again, but can't help but sit back and laugh. You spend all this time in training them, and you're like, oh man, they're gonna be phenomenal. And I'm bragging them to my other investor friends. I'm like, and my friend told me it was like, you know, it's like your baby. Your VA is the cutest. Your VA is, you know, the best. No matter what happens, your VA is the best. And so I found myself doing that, telling them like, hey, she's awesome. I even scheduled a practice call with them. Like, she wouldn't know it was a practice call, but I was gonna have her call them, and her, like, have them test her out, just to prove how good I was at teaching her and how good she was. And I mean, in the same sentence, I got that text message, hey, I'm not gonna be clocking on because of this reason. And I felt like, oh man, just put the foot right in my mouth right then and there. So I thought that was pretty funny, and I'll share that with you. You know, sometimes these things happen where it's just like a kick in the nuts, whatever it may be. You just gotta roll with the punches. I mentioned this multiple times in my videos. You're gonna get hit, knocked down tons of times. You gotta get back up, keep moving forward, and just appreciate the experiences that come with it. I've learned a lot by training these VAs. So much that if I would have never started training VAs, I would have never learned it. So for those who are afraid of hiring the wrong person or making a mistake as a leader and a trainer, just go into it with the best intentions and the best you can do. Because what will happen is, even though it might not be up to par the way things should be, you're going to be learning how to do things, how to train people efficiently, what's worth your time, what's worth their time, and how to manage all the in-betweens. And so the first time I hired my VA, the expectations were not set out very clearly. I didn't train her properly. I told her to constantly change the way she was doing things because I didn't have a system inside my business. And I could tell it probably really stressed her out. And it probably wasn't fair to her, to be honest. You know, whether or not she was accountable, she probably wasn't a good work environment for her, even though I thought I was the greatest employer on the planet and I was providing such a great opportunity. I wasn't a great teacher at that time. You know, she still didn't perform up to the task. But and then my second one, I started noticing behaviors and kind of patterns in the employee behavior that would lead to actions that I didn't like not being accountable, not following through like I asked them to. And so as you go on and on, you start to progress. You learn these patterns and behavioral traits that may or may not help or benefit your company. And so at the end of the day, you got to stop looking at them. You know, it's hard to say, but these are people. You got to treat them with respect. But at the end of the day, you got to start looking at your business as a business, right? You got to figure out who's going to make it the most profitable, because that's who you want. Doesn't matter how nice they are. You know, that's a factor that you can put in, you know, when hiring, but it really just matters how much profit they're going to be bringing you, because in return on investment, spending a lot of time and energy training these VAs. And so they're going to be your biggest expense, both in time and money. And my mentor told me that, and I didn't believe him, but now I do. So just remember that employees are going to be your biggest time and money spent on your business if you hire out as you scale up. So really build a strong foundation before you scale up, and work on building your team and building them, correctly. Don't just willy-nilly hire somebody to fill the position and think because they're making calls for you that they're actually doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're still learning just as you are. Remember, when you first started this business, or if you're just starting this business, you got a lot of questions in your mind. You don't know how things just, the behavioral patterns of the sellers. You don't know how their typical responses are. So you just got to kind of remember to put yourself in their shoes and say, okay, well, maybe I need to be a little bit more patient. Maybe I just need to spend a little bit more time with them, and then they'll get to where they need to be. Or they're just not getting it at all, and I need to let them go because they're just, you can't tell them 3 times in a row and they still do the same thing. So anyways, I want to share that experience with you. I consider that a failure of mine because I didn't foresee the problems, and and now I do. And so I wanted to share that with you, and kind of coming up with solutions on to solve my other problems as a result of it. So hope you found value out of that video. If you did, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe down below, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next one.